Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is a very special video. One, because it's an eyeshadow palette video, and you guys know how I feel about my eyeshadows. So, today's video, we're going to talk about if I could keep only 10 eyeshadow palettes in my collection, which one would those 10 be? So, if you want to find out, keep on watching. Okay, let's first start with the eyeshadow palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today. And I am actually wearing ABH Cosmetics Cool Summer Palette. This is very special. Now, I won't lie, I'm not like a big fan of the mattes in this palette, but it's not bad by any means. But I would say these shimmers are truly breathtaking. Now, I was actually wearing the Simply Posh Cosmetics Genuine Gems palette before this video. I quickly wiped off and I wanted to create like a similar look but with this palette, and that's what I did. So if you see like a similar outfit and a similar eye look in like another video of Simply Posh, I didn't want to put that palette in this video just because I have not used that palette a lot, and I want to test out the one palette like at least 5 to 6 times to get like a good review or good idea of how this palette performs on my eyes. This I have worn tons, like tons I would say. I have this all over my eyelid. Purple shimmer running all throughout that you see is this shade, which is Waves, which looks like blue, but it's like a blue purple shimmer. Look at that. It's so pretty. So pretty. And I have this blue seaside on the outer corners. I blended it out with like boozy lavender. And I have this on my crease. And I have flip-flops on my lower lash line. And I finished it off with this shade on the outer corners. I also have a little bit of blueberry pop on the outer corner of the lid. That's my eye look, and I use this, and for a reason. Like, I love its Bell shimmers. You know it. It's not in use. If I really could, I would have included my Flare Collection Remix palette also in this video, but only because I do have these kind of shimmers in another palette that I'm going to talk about. I did not put it, but this is like my favorite palette that they've done. I really like the 9-pan all shimmer palette that ABH Cosmetics do. Like, if I could get these shimmers from the Cool Summer palette in like one palette, I would 100% rank that as my top priority because these shimmers are truly amazing. There's not one shimmer that I do not like. I feel like these two shades were not needed. One was good enough. These two shades were not needed. One was good enough. That's why it's not like my top priority, but the shimmers are absolutely stunning. So this would definitely be there in like the 10 palettes that I would keep in my collection. Okay, the next palette, you could not find it. But if I have to create like cool tone looks, I need this palette in my collection, and I'm talking about my ABH Cosmetics Sultry Palette. I cannot even think of another cool tone palette like in a neutral color story because I don't wear too much of like grays on my eyes, but if I am leaning towards like a natural, neutral, cool tone glam look, I'm definitely reaching out for this, and for that reason, I definitely need this in my collection. There's no other rhyme or reason. I also picked out my Nabla's Platinum palette, but these have like neutral tones that I wear even with like my other palettes. So I wanted to choose this. And that's the only reason why ABH is in this palette collection. But when you see these ranking of the 10 palettes that I did, majority of them is indie palettes. Like, there are only 1 or 2 palettes that I would say you can find it in like Sephora, but rest all of them are indie palettes, and that tells me that how much indie palettes are like topping the industry. Like, they are absolutely on like the top-notch quality amongst all the palettes that I have in my collection. Like, if you want to see like top 10 indie palettes from my collection, do let me know in the comment section below. I would be happy to film that for you guys. But yes, let's move on with the video. The next eyeshadow palette that I have to talk about is another indie brand, and this, oh my god, I cannot even tell you how much I love this palette because I have some feelings when I see this palette and I cannot stop using this. And this is from Glamlight, and this is the Chocolate Martini palette. I'm so glad that I picked it. Like, I'm so glad. I love the neutral cool tone, like these mauvey tones. I love this like orangey rusty tones on the eyes. This like bronzy tone and the gold tone are like ample amount of gold looks that I need to create. This blue purple shade is stunning. This orange is lovely. You can create some cool tone deep smoky eyes with this. These bronzes are amazing. Like Glamlight's formula is absolutely top notch. The Michaela palette almost made it to this list too, but only because I don't wear a lot of like punchy pastel-y tones. That's the only reason why it's not landed. But their shimmers in that palette, oh my god, you know how much I feel about it. I have done like a 5 looks using that palette. You can find that on my channel. Like I love the looks that I could create from that palette. But if I see like in a practical term, I needed like a special shadow palette, which this does. I needed a cool tone palette, which this does. I need a neutral tone, like a cool tone leaning palette for my everyday life, and this palette does that for me. I do not miss anything when I'm using this palette, and I am in love with Glamlight's formula. Like this is absolutely stunning. If you can find it on like a Black Friday discount, I would say just snag it. You'll not be disappointed. This definitely is on like the top list. Love it. Okay, another palette, you cannot find it anymore, but I cannot live without my collection without this palette. Like I absolutely cannot. These are some unique tones in my collection, and I'm talking about Odens Eye Giant Worlds palette. I mean, Annette did such a good job on creating this palette. If you would have not said that this is Annette's palette, I would have still guessed that this is Annette's palette, because this is Annette in a palette form. Like I love the multi-chrome in this palette. I love even this blue, this green, this magenta. It's so unique, but it looks so grungy, so wearable also. When I wear this palette, I feel like I'm like a cool girl, which I'm not, but I feel like I'm like a cool girl who's rocking these tones, and that is the vibe that Annette gives me whenever I'm watching her. Like I love that girl so much, and the color story is absolutely stunning. You can top this shade, the white astral shade. It's actually like a gold white shade on any of the mattes, not even this palette, like any of the mattes, and it just transforms it in so many different ways. Like I need to have this palette. I absolutely need it, and I'm so glad that I snagged it. Like yeah, cannot recommend this enough, but you cannot find it, so there's no point talking about it. But let's talk about the next eyeshadow palette. The next eyeshadow palette that I have to talk about is Sydney Grace Tiny Marvels palette. Oh my god, this gives me so much feeling. This was in collaboration by Mel Thompson. We lost Mel, but we have like a very special palette that was created by her in the collection, which I will cherish forever. These tones, I cannot find these tones in any other palettes in my collection, and I'm glad that this still holds such a beautiful place in my collection. It's just a standout palette. I love these mauvey tones. I love this duochrome. I love these like neutral tones also in this palette. These mattes are total grunginess. Like I do not have a shade like Tree Hopper, Walking Stick, Death Moth, the Spider shade, even Flutterby for that matter, Mantis. I do not have these tones in my collection, and I am like a mauve person. I still do not have it. That's saying a lot. I love this palette, and the quality is so outstanding. Like you need to see it. It's such a gorgeous palette. Like look at that. Like look at that. It's just absolutely stunning. Like if you have not experienced Sydney Grace eyeshadows, you definitely need to, because this is some amazing quality. The mattes are creamy, blendable, beautiful, and the shimmers are opaque and shiny and so lovely on the eyes. Like you absolutely need it. This definitely would stay even in my like top 5. This would definitely be there for so many different reasons. Let's talk about another indie brand, which again swept off the ground for me, like in every single way. And this is not the only palette that I love from them. Let me make it very clear, because I love almost every palette that they have launched, but this definitely stands on the top. And with the palettes that I have in my collection, I feel like these shades I do not have in the palettes that I've picked so far. And I'm talking about Gourmand Girls, and this is the Spooked palette which they created in collaboration with Doodles by the Bunny, Angela here on Instagram. But this, oh my god, if this is not fall, I don't know what is fall. I love the purpley tones, I love the reds, I love the oranges. These shimmers are so spectacular. This is such a beautiful multi-chrome shade. Even this one, it's wearable multi-chromes, which we always need. I love the addition of a white and a black to lighter down these mattes or deepen these mattes. It's so stunning. You definitely can create like a neutral look also with these shades. It is absolutely gorgeous. The quality of these eyeshadow palettes, you can, when you apply this on your eyes, you can feel like the quality. You can feel the love that goes in these indie palettes when they're creating it. Yes, they won't be like cheap as drugstore, but the amount of effort and love that they put in these palettes in like creating like different and unique color story, I have to give it to them. Like I absolutely have to. Like yeah, this glow stick green shade I run away from, but when I put this on my eyes, it's so spectacular, with especially with this like pink or with this like purple, even with that red. Mic drop. This is gorgeous. Like if you have not had your eyes on it, I do have like a coupon code with Gourmand Girls. It's just Smithy Sony, and that would save you some money if you have not tested this out. And if you are into this color story, I would highly recommend them. Highly. I have a coupon code with Sugar Drizzle, with Gourmand Girls, with ABH Cosmetics. I think that is it. Yeah, so use my code, save some money. Even if you do not use my code, I mean, you need to test these shadows out. I won't tell you to go and buy it, but if you do, you'll not regret it for sure. Okay, let's move to another mainstream brand. I would say indie brand, but you can also find it in Sephora, and that is Huda Beauty. Man, oh man, this palette is so special. I told you that I'm not into like pastels. If I'm wearing pastels and if I'm looking for pastel shadows, I am wearing Huda Beauty's retrograde palette, the Mercury retrograde palette. This is my kind of pastels that I can rock any day, every day, and not feel like weird about it. I love the inclusion of the shimmers and the mattes in this palette. Like the mattes might look like light in the pan, but it definitely shows on my skin tone, and I can appreciate a pastel showing on my skin tone because I'm more of like a tan skin tone. And this is beautiful. This is absolutely stunning. Again, they're so good quality. They blend by themselves on the eyes, and the shimmers are so spectacular. Like if you want like a wash of these shimmers, you can apply it with a brush. It is very opaque when you apply it with your fingers, and with a glitter glue, it just takes it to another notch, and I cannot. I truly feel like Huda Beauty is one brand in the mainstream, along with Natasha Denona, that creates like great eyeshadow palette. If I have to like choose like mainstream brands that does eyeshadow palettes well, I would say out of the brands that I have tried, I would say Natasha Denona, Huda Beauty, as well as ABH are the ones that stands out, and that's why I wanted to put those brands in my palette collection video, just because it would give you an idea of like which brands to test out if you are getting into eyeshadow palettes. Like, but this truly spectacular. Okay, let's talk about another indie brand, which, oh my god, I was not into greens, and this made me fall in love with greens because of their shimmers. And this brand does multi-chromes, duochromes, mattes in such an affordable price. If you go to indie brands, of course they're pricey, but this brand does it all at like a great price, I would say. And this is Sugar Drizzle Cosmetics, and this is their MILF palette. When I saw this palette, when I saw the cover of the palette, I was like, oh, okay, green palette, I can skip. When they showed me this palette, I ordered this palette within 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes of the launch, and I have loved it ever since. These multi-chromes are absolutely smooth and gorgeous. This is a full shimmer palette, but the greens in this palette, the blues, the purples in this palette is so spectacular, and you should see the quality. Like, look how stunning it is. You cannot deny. Like, you deny it, I'll have to fight you. This is so spectacular and so dimensional and so multicolored. Oh my God. If I could marry this, I will, because this is that beautiful, and Sugar Drizzle does it at such a good quality. Like, I have several of their palettes at this point, even their mattes palette, even their the Halloween palette, the 6-pan palette. They do palettes in different sizing so that everybody can afford it, and they do it so good. I cannot recommend them enough. If you have not tried Sugar Drizzle, you definitely need to. Again, I do have a code, Smithy Sony, for some dollars off. I don't remember if it is 10% off or 15% off, but it's Smithy Sony. Save some money and experience that palette. You will absolutely love it. Okay, talking about mainstream brands, there's one more brand to mention, and that is Natasha Denona. I have to give it to her for the Dream palette. Like, this is Smithy in a palette. If I would create like a neutral palette, these are absolutely my tones. I love like a pinky brown matte in my crease, so I love the addition of that. I love a brownie matte. I love burgundies. I love this trio chrome. I love, oh my God, this is just me. I would have definitely appreciated, I would say, if instead of this, it was like a deep bronzy chocolatey shade. Oh my God, that would have sealed the deal for me. Any of this, like, I would have taken, I don't know what would I have taken off. Maybe the orange shade, even that is pretty. I don't know, guys. I don't know what to take out to put another shade, but I would have loved like a chocolatey bronzy shade in this palette, and that would seal the deal for me. If you have not experienced or tried Natasha Denona ever before, I would say go for this one, because especially if you are into this color story, this is totally my color story. I feel like purples is another neutral for me. So if you are like a cool tone purple leaning person, this might look a lot warm tone, but on the eyes it pulls out very neutral, I would say. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I have feelings for this palette so much. And I'll tell you one more thing. When I apply these shades with my fingers, yes, it is opaque and lovely, especially on the cream shadows. Don't rub your fingers in it. You will find a hard pan in it. Apply like with a dense brush, like this BK Beauty A501. Lovely, like it applies so beautifully. You need like a dense brush like this to apply the cream shade, and you'll be all set. I even apply these shimmers with my brushes. I take like any flat definer brush, like this Morphe Jaclyn Hill, what is this, JH41, any flat definer brush with like a toothy tip to it. It picks up really nicely on the brush, and you can lay like a glitter primer or anything like that, and it doesn't move anywhere. When you rub your fingers with Natasha Denona palettes, I feel like it doesn't stay on your eyelids for a long time. I do have like longevity problems, but if I apply it with like a brush, I don't know what magic it is. It stays for a long time, and I love this color story. Like, this definitely would be in like one of the top palettes for this year. Cannot recommend this enough. And I understand the Natasha Denona like hype. I do have a lot of her small 5-pan eyeshadow palettes, but this quality is definitely something else. Like, I would recommend this. And last, certainly not the least, you guys know I'm a jewel tone person, and I need my jewel tones in the 10 palettes that I would be keeping. And the palette of my choice would be ABH Cosmetics Primal Palette. You cannot deny, like, this is such a beautiful rainbow palette. I would need one rainbow palette in my collection, and the rainbow palette of my choice would be Primal Palette from ABH Cosmetics. Their mattes are kiss-worthy. They just blend with each other so nicely. If you apply like a white base on your eye, these pastels pop like crazy. I love using the second row also. I was so scared of the second row, but I love using this on my eyes, and it just pops like no other. Like, as a pop of a color on your eyelid, or just blend it all across. Like, it's stunning. I knew that I would love the third row and the fourth row without it, and I still love it. The only thing that I would have wished is if I could have gotten like more shade instead of just like huge pan of black and white, like put that black and white in like a small pan. I never go through an eyeshadow palette, but I would have loved more shades, more variety. Blend Bunny Cosmetics does something and they do it good. Like they do it good, and this would be my 10th palette of my choice. And those were the 10 palettes that I would keep in my collection. Let me know in the comment section below, what are your top 3 palettes? Do let me know. If I do not have that palette in my collection, I'll definitely consider buying. I won't promise you, but I'll consider buying. But yes, that's all for today, guys. I really hope this video was entertaining for you guys to watch. If you did like this video, you know what to do. Do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.